Today we have Dionya Kelley on the podcast. Dionya is the owner of Dionya Designs, where she does a lot of branding and marketing related work. So Dionya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so usually with first-time guests, what I do is ask who they are today, or like, who are you, what are you doing, just kind of a general information about you as you are today.
Okay. Well, right now, I'm currently the agency owner of Dionya Designs, which is a boutique marketing agency where we provide brand strategy and the execution of that strategy for churches and nonprofits and small businesses too. And so our services consist of graphic design, website design, social media management, email marketing, and really just helping nonprofits and churches and organizations that don't have a marketing department and don't have a graphic design department. We want to be their creative service department. So that's kind of like our tag. You'll fill that creative services gap. So in addition to that, I'm also a wife and a mother of two boys. Right now they are 10 and 12. My 10-year-old will be 11 soon. So, and I'm a very active member at my church on the administration team. So, that's pretty much my life in a nutshell.
Okay. So you're staying pretty busy these days.
Oh, yeah. Probably too busy.
Okay. Yeah. So given where you are now, how did you come to this point? But if you could start like way, way back in like middle school or high school, who were you back then?
Well, I would have never thought I'd be here because I am naturally a quiet, introverted person until you give me a subject to talk about. So when I get passionate about something, then I can go on and on and on. And for those that don't know me, they'll be like, I didn't know she talked that much. So, but I remember in high school, actually, during those years when you're trying to figure out what am I going to do after this, I had taken all of my classes that I needed to take in high school. And so I was, overachiever. And so I was a teacher assistant because I needed to burn some hours because I didn't have any more classes to take. And one of my favorite classes at that time was a graphic design class, which was kind of like new at that time. And I remember my teacher in that class saying, hey, as my teacher assistant, if you teach yourself this program, then I'll teach the class. And that program was Adobe Photoshop.
Okay.
And it was back in the day. I'm 44, so this was when it was on CD and you had the book. And so I was like reading the book step by step, page by page, and teaching myself Photoshop at that time. And then also looking at colleges, where to go, what I'm going to do. I originally wanted to go into animation and do that. But then I'm like, I couldn't find a school that was offering that at that time. And so my next choice was to be the person that designs movie posters. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to design the movie posters that you would see at Blockbuster, which doesn't exist anymore. But at Blockbuster and, on the little CD cases and VHS cases, I wanted to be the person that designed that. And so I remember when I was looking for colleges, East Carolina University had a communication arts school. So it was a school of communication arts, and I decided to go there. And so, and that's where I kind of build on my skills in terms of like Photoshop and illustration, and then learning communication through design and things like that. And it's funny because I would say it was my sophomore year, because, in college you're taking your general classes. My sophomore year in college, I didn't get in to the School of Art. Oh. I didn't get in. And you have to apply for this. Like, you have to submit a portfolio, and I didn't get in. And I'm like, I have no backup. Oh. What am I going to do? I don't have a backup plan. And so it's like, well, the only thing you could do is try to get in again, maybe the next semester. And so I started meeting with teachers, you know, different art teachers in the School of Art. And they coached me like, okay, you need to do this. And I should have done that the first time, but I didn't know any better. And so I did get in on the second attempt. I got in and learned so much there. And so I graduated, you know, with a bachelor in communication arts. And, you know, like most typical people in college, you don't know what you're going to do afterwards. Like, okay, now what I'm going to do for a job. And so I was actually selling perfume in the streets. I was those people that's like, what kind of perfume you like to wear? I hated it. But I kind of got, you know, sucked into this pyramid thing and whatever. And so it was just not fun.
Okay. So if we could back to high school, what else were you doing? Did you play sports, or were you part of some clubs in high school? What else were you a part of?
I did a lot of things in high school. So I ran track. Okay. And so I made it to the state finals. So I was decent. I wasn't the best one, but I was on a relay team, and so we made it to state. I was also on the dance team. I was the captain of the dance team junior, my junior year, and then senior captain my senior year. So I was really into that. I was also into my violin. So I was first chair violinist when I was in high school, and made it to Western Regional All-State Orchestra. So I've always had this artsy kind of theme going on. I like the arts. I love music. I never took an art class. Okay. I never took an art class. The closest I got was the graphic design course, where I learned how to do print. And it was like old school print, you know, with the metal plates and things like that. So I learned how to do...
Like on the printing press?
Yes. Okay. Yes. And how to register these things. And, you know, you have the different colors, and how to produce a newspaper.
So you did the whole thing? Like you had to create like negatives for it and all of that. And then after you printed, there was a cutter, like you cut the paper or brochures or whatever you're making, folding machine, all that stuff.
It was old school. Like, that's what I learned, and that was the graphic design course. Okay. And so, I mean, they taught us a little bit about negative space and things like that, and balance, but it wasn't anything like now. It wasn't digital the way it is now, because that was just still developing at that time. And I mean, that was the time where in my household we didn't even have a computer yet. So, I mean, that was a big deal to have a computer. We didn't even have a computer yet. I didn't get a computer until I went to college. And so all of the things that I was doing in high school in that class was just, it was more print and just physical production, not digital.
Did you do any, I think they call it drafting or where you're laying things up and all that?
We did drafting. I actually took a drafting class also in my high school years, and where I learned a little bit about blueprints and AutoCAD, and so that, you know, I did learn that.
So was your high school, they had like trades in the school, or how?
No,
what was that like?
It wasn't. You had electives that you could take, and so these were electives that I chose. And so I went to South Meck High School here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so but they had a lot of cool electives that you could take, and those were the ones that I chose. You could take any elective that you wanted, as long as you had your base courses, you know, English, math, science, all that stuff done. So I kind of gravitated to that area.
And going back to track, did you run indoor or outdoor track?
Outdoor track. I ran outdoor track, and the funny thing is I hated it. I hated track. It was like a love-hate relationship, because I hated it, but then I loved the accomplishment from it, and I loved the teams, and I loved my coach. You know, he was my inspiration. But it track, when I look back, it taught me so much about endurance. And if you've ever run it, there's a mental war that's in your head when you're running, where part of you is like, I can't. And then there's another part that's like, yes, you can, you better, you got to do it. You keep going. And I still use that to this day, just that mental strength that I didn't realize I was exercising that when I was running track during that time.
Were you a long distance runner or a short distance
It was more like mid distance. I was like 400. So, one lap around. I did the 400. I ran the 4x4 relay.
Okay.
I did the 2x4, which I don't even know if they're still doing that anymore, where you run half a lap. So you run 200 meters. Sure. Or they used to call it 800 relay. I don't even know if they're still doing that in high school anymore. But that was my favorite one because it was shorter. I wasn't a all-out sprinter because I wasn't quite fast enough for the 100, and I was terrified of the hurdles because I thought I would just tear my knees up and fall and stuff. But the 400 was my race. That was my race.
Did you do any field events?
I didn't. I tried, but wasn't that good at it.
Okay. Yeah. Back in high school, I did a little bit of indoor track.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that was. Did you play any other sports?
No, just track and dance. Those are the only things that I did. I was on the marching band, which kind of came hand in hand with dance, but not playing the instrument. I was on a color guard. So I was the one doing the flags and things like that. And I actually went on to college and did color guard for 2 years at East Carolina University too. Okay. So, yeah. Nice. So I got the best of both worlds. I got to travel with the band because I was in the color guard, but then I got to do things with the orchestra because I was first-year violinist in high school. So it was nice.
How did you get into becoming a violinist? Did your parents make you sign you up, or did you want to do it yourself? What was it?
It was something that the public school, Charlotte Mecklenburg schools at that time, that was kind of a track where when you got to 5th grade at that time, and now it's actually 6th grade, but at that time when you're in 5th grade, then they started introducing you to instruments and things like that, and what do you want to play, and then you have an opportunity to pick what instrument you want to play. And then that next year you would be either in band or orchestra depending on what instrument you chose. And I used to suffer from asthma. And so I wanted to play the flute. And that's what I originally wanted to play. And so they had this test where they would have you blow. And if you had enough wind, then you could play those instruments. I didn't have enough wind. I didn't have enough wind. So my second choice was the violin, and my third choice was the cello. Okay. And so that's how I got paired up with the violin. And so in 6th grade, that's when I started learning through public school, playing the violin. And then as I navigated through middle school, I played, and then through high school. And then actually, I want to say my junior year in high school, that's when my dad was like, she's really doing this thing. So I started taking private lessons my junior year in high school. And that was actually because of a teacher of mine who was like, you're really gifted in this area. I know someone who does private lessons. You need to take these lessons.
You play today?
No. No, I don't. I stopped playing as much when I got to college because I got busy. And I don't play. Last time I picked it up, I was so disappointed because I was like, I lost everything. Lost my skills. But I do have 2 instruments. I have an electrical one and then the traditional violin, sitting in my closet, and it's just sitting there, pick it up. You can get back into it. Yeah.
What was your friend circle like in high school?
Oh, man. I never really belonged to any cliques. I was a floater. Okay. So I was a floater that just kind of, was friends with everyone. I only had maybe 3 really close friends. 2 of them grew up in my neighborhood, and one of them was just in all of my classes and also in my orchestra class. And it's so interesting that our bond was so tight that she all 3 of them were at my wedding when I got married. But those 3 had been my friends since middle school, you know, and actually two of them were even since elementary school.
Okay.
And so I just I didn't have any cliques. That wasn't my thing. And I've always been that person that didn't really fit in any particular group, but I had, I had friends, but they weren't, only had three really close ones. So I just kind of floated around,
Yeah. Yeah. So back in high school, before going to college, who was kind of influencing you in going to college or doing something else? Like, where were you getting your advice from?
My community, mainly my church at that time. Going to school was a big deal in my community because that many people weren't doing it. So there were people at my church that was the thing you do. Like after you go, to high school, the next thing is college. You go to college. And so my church was a big, played a big part in that, as well as my, mom and dad. It was just, okay, what are you going to do next? Is college, or take up a trade or something. And so just all of that pushing me in that direction. And then, of course, you had teachers that invested, in me as well. That was like, okay, you need to be, preparing for college. What are your SAT scores? Like that kind of thing. So I had some pretty influential individuals, teachers, and people at my church that was pushing me in that direction.
Okay. So when you went to college, did you, was it like, did you stay on campus, or were you? Okay.
I did.
What was that like?
I stayed on campus all 4 years. And so my freshman year was insane. It was crazy because it's your first time and you're a young adult and you're kind of a kid at the same time, And so, but that was probably my most fun year since my freshman year. And then after freshman year, you start getting serious. Like, okay, I'm here for a reason. But the interesting thing is that's where I met my husband too. And so we met in college, and it was a co-ed dorm my freshman year. And so I was, it was like girls on the first floor, boys second, girls third, boys fourth. I was on the third and he was on the fourth floor. So we met in a taekwondo class.
Taekwondo?
Yeah, in college.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you do any other activities in college? Did you play any sports or other things?
Just color guard. I did that for 2 years. I tried out for the dance team and realized that wasn't my group. I didn't fit. I probably would have made the team, but I didn't even finish the tryouts because I realized this is not the group of people I wanted to be with at that time. So I really put all of my energy into the classes that I was taking. I didn't really do a lot of extracurricular things other than color guard, which actually color guard took a lot of time, my first 2 years. And then after that, it's just, academics. So.
Okay. So you were there for 4 years?
Yep, 4 years. That was one of the things my dad was, he stressed that because, he was paying for it. So he's like, get in and get out, get in and get out, Yeah. He's like, he told me you're not allowed to change your degree. You finish what you start. And if you want to do something, else, then finish this and then do something else if you want to do something else. I wasn't allowed to change majors. There were some people that kept changing and they would be in school for like 6, 8, 10 years. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that wasn't an option for me. So I got in and got out. Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah. And you mentioned you met your husband there. When did you get married? Did you get married like right after college?
No,
during college,
I didn't. We dated for 7 years. So now 4 of those years was college. So I met him my freshman year of college. We started dating like the spring, so like the second semester of my freshman year. So we dated all through college. And so a total of 7 years, and got married in 2015. So I graduated in college. No, not 2015, 2005. I'm like getting all the dates mixed up. We married in 2005. I graduated from college in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. So all through college and then 4 years after. So he went on to get a master's degree. And so he did, 2 additional years. So we had college and that whole transition and stuff to do. So that explains some of the long time.
Yeah.
7 years.
Did you move back after college? Did he live in the same town as you?
No, so I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's kind of a military brat. But his family was in Fayetteville, North Carolina when he was in college, and that's kind of where they still are. And so when we met in college, after college, he would come up from Fayetteville and visit me at my home. And then we both actually moved to Greensboro. We did that perfume business I was telling you about. We both did that for like 7 months. And then I went on to work at American Express in the call center, and he was at a vitamin store. And then we realized this is not working. We're broke. And so we moved back home. He moved back to his place. I moved back to my place. So we did that for like a year. And then we moved back home. I moved back to my parents' house. He moved back to his parents' house. And then that's when he went off to get his master's degree. Okay. So it was like a year before he went to get his, started his master's.
So even from like earlier on, you had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit.
I did, but didn't realize it. My husband is the entrepreneur. I want to have my own business kind of thing, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just think I'm gonna always work for someone. I'm like the service mentality. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it, and I'll do it better than you expect me to do. But tell me what to do. I don't want to figure out what to do. But tell me what to do, give me the blueprint, and I'll do it better than you ever thought I could do it. That was my mentality. I kind of stumbled onto entrepreneurship. Okay. It's interesting how that happened, but that was not ever my plan to own my own business. That was not my plan.
Would you say that your husband had an influence on you since he wanted to have his own business, or he was more entrepreneurial?
Yeah, definitely. He kind of planted that seed, and it just kind of ended up that way when I was working at my last job for 13 years. So when I moved back to Charlotte, I started working at Inspiration Ministries, also known as INSP. And to this day, that's still like my family. I grew up in that company. I got married in that company. I had bought my first house, first car, everything in that company. And to this day, they're still family. But I worked there for 13 years, and until I resigned to really take care of my kids. But when I made that decision, I didn't really have a plan in terms of income, and the way our household with me and my husband was built. It was built for two incomes, not one, Okay. So when I resigned, it's like, okay, what am I going to do, And what I ended up doing was taking all the skills that I was, learned and was doing for Inspiration Ministries and decide, let me just go and do a business. Now, that's where my husband kicked in, was like, you should just do your own business. You already got the skill set. You're already doing this. You need to just do your own business. So that's when he kicked in. And that's where, entrepreneurship just kind of kicked in and started.
Yeah. So what was it like starting your own business? Like, were you nervous? Were you like overloaded with information or things you didn't know? Yeah,
I'm still that way. I don't know if that'll ever go away. I mean, I've had my business for 7 years now, and it's like I'm still overloaded with information. But it's scary because it was a leap of faith. You don't know the end. You just know this is the next step that I need to take. And so, and you have to believe that you can do it and that you will do it. Trust your work ethic that, okay, if I have limited knowledge, I'm going to do what I know. And then as you do it, there's more information that gets revealed and more information. And then the connections, you can't really run a successful business without connections. It's not a pull yourself up by your bootstrap kind of thing. It's all you. That's not true. Somebody, somewhere, it's connections, relationships, whether it's people who believe in you and want to give you, the business and say, hey, I want you to do this for me, or people who just want to sow information into you. So it's kind of, just believing that you can do it, and speed. How fast can you do what you know? You know?
So being an introvert, what is it like for you to go out and network and make those connections?
Terrifying. Still to this day. I need a wingman. It's terrifying. It really is, because it's just something that's, I guess, naturally in me, where I'm like, they don't know me, I don't know them. And as an introvert, you don't always know the right time to speak. And so right when you get ready to speak, it's the wrong time. You're like, oh, well, let me wait. And then once you start speaking, you're like, okay, I don't know how to end this. So, but I think probably from the outside looking at it, it's probably just me internally. That's just my internal dialogue. But you learn certain things. There's certain, like, okay, when these are 5 things you can say, and you just keep that in your pocket. 5 ways to start a conversation. And usually you'll find someone that you connect with on a subject, and then it's just natural. But as an introvert, it's the start that's the most scary part, I guess. The most intimidating part is starting the convo. Then once I start, then I'm good. So
it sounds like you almost have to like prepare for possible conversations.
Yes,
up there.
I do.
Why do you think that introverts feel that way?
I don't know. I think we're very self-conscious, and we don't want to make a fool of ourselves. You know, like I don't want to say the wrong thing, or just, you know, I don't want to look like I am completely clueless. You know, I think to a degree, sometimes we're a bit of perfectionists too. We just want to get it right. You know, we want to do the right thing. We want to say the right thing. And I think there's another part of us that just really want to be helpful too. And I'm not the kind of person that just have a whole bunch of empty words. So if I don't have anything that's helpful, probably not going to say anything. So some people are like, oh, you're so quiet. I really have nothing to add to the conversation. I'm not mad, I promise. I just don't have anything to add, you know. I don't have anything to say. So I think we're just very self-conscious, you know, about making sure we say the right thing at the right time, and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you got married like 7 years after you met your husband. Mm-hmm. What was that like? And what is your marriage like today?
Well, John, that's my husband. He's my best friend. So, it's not all, you know, roses like some people think. But when you marry your best friend, you can't beat that. I mean, trials and tribulations, it's like, who else would you do that with? So in the beginning, it's learning one another. You take 2 different people with 2 different cultures, 2 different backgrounds, and you merge them into one household. And it's like, okay, you're merging these 2 different individuals into one. That takes work. And I think that there comes a point in your relationship when you realize that, or you need to realize that you're not in opposition, you're on the same side. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the hurdle that you cross somewhere around that newlywed. Because at first, when you're newlyweds, it does feel like you're in opposition. Like, how come you're doing it that way? Supposed to do it this way, or why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. And so it seems like you're on 2 different teams, you know. But there's a point where you have to realize you're on the same side, and then that's when it's like, oh, they're not doing this to be irritating. They're not doing it on purpose. This is just who they are. And then so you start to accept them for who they are, and then they accept you for who you are.
So you were dating for 7 years. Mm-hmm. Some people would say, well, if you're dating for that long, you would know the other person, right?
No. No. Because, well, we didn't live with each other for 7 years. So we didn't live together. And everything isn't merged. So in our household, where we operate as one unit, so everything merges. Finances merge. The way you eat merge. Everything goes into one. Where when you're dating for 7 years, you still have your own identity, your own thing, you know. But when you get married, you know, it merges into one. So it's like, I didn't realize that you were like that, or I didn't even realize that you even thought like, there's some things, but still when you get into deeper conversations and where you get to see them operate every single morning, afternoon, and evening, you didn't know that even after 7 years. So, and even to this day, we're still learning each other. We've been married for 17 years now. And so even now I'm still like, wow, didn't know that. And he's the same way. So, and you change. Yeah. So, I mean, me in freshman year compared to now, we're totally two different individuals. I'm not the same person I was in my freshman year in college. So you're learning each other, but then what if you change and now you got to learn that part again because it's different now. So, yeah.
So you mentioned you're both from different cultures and so on. What is that like in terms of being that one unit, but having different backgrounds, different cultures? What are like challenges? What are benefits of it?
Oh man, that is inside my house. Us living together from two different cultures is super easy. It's when you leave the house when it becomes a problem to some people, and you have to learn how to navigate that. So with me being African American and my husband is white and Korean, and so we would be in what you would call an interracial relationship. And so I have a whole history and life of events and things, and so does he. And so you're taking all of that and putting it in one household. But when you're in one household, you get to decide, okay, who are we and what is the foundation? And so both of us are, believers in Christ. And so everything is built on that foundation. Honestly, I don't know how we would be able to function without that foundation, because out of that's our identity. And so we go back to that foundation, and it makes everything easy, because you lose, it's like when that old identity is gone and now you have a new identity. And so, but when you leave the house, there's this like expectations and stereotypes and blah, 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 all of that stuff. And you get to figure out how you're going to deal with that. And do you let outside people define who you are? And so that's when you set your boundaries and you say, no, this is who we are. This is how we function. This is our household. This is our culture. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And this is our culture. Deal with it. Yeah.
So, what is it like as far as extended family? Are there sometimes challenges of like it seems like it's hard enough when you have people come together from the same culture. It's like, well, your mom said this or your dad said that and this and that. And,
Yeah, it's the great thing is at this stage, our families are very supportive. It wasn't always like that, though. Because they, his family didn't know me, my family didn't know him. And so it's like, who are these people? Are they like authentic, that kind of thing. But I would say the thing is that it's really the same with any relationship, whether you're of the same culture or the same background. When you're married, this is your family. This is how you do things, and you keep external people out. Yeah. And so we keep external people out, whether it's external family members, extended family members, friends, or whatever. We don't bring them into our relationship. We don't discuss finances. We don't discuss anything. We discuss good things with them, like, hey, guess what happened? But we don't discuss problems, issues. That is a boundary in our relationship, so it cuts down all drama. We don't have that kind of drama because they don't know what they don't need to know. Yeah. So we keep it sacred. Our relationship is sacred, and we don't let people in to places that are intimate that they shouldn't be into. So that cuts down on a whole lot of drama when it comes to that. So I think in any relationship, whether it's interracial or the same cultural backgrounds, if you keep that sacred, you don't have the extended, issues and whatever, whoever thinks whatever, it's still, this is what we're going to do, and we're prepared to do it by ourselves or you can tag along. It's your choice. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I find sometimes there are families where a husband and a wife, they have an argument, and then instead of solving it together, they will go to their parents. Sometimes they go to the opposite, like the husband will go to the wife's parents and be like, well, your daughter is this and that and whatever, you know.
Yeah,
and
that's a no-no.
it creates a bigger issue than
Yeah, that's a no-no. We don't, in our family, we don't talk about problems outside of our household. We just don't do it, you know. If there's anybody that I would talk to, it would be probably our pastors who know us both, and there is no allegiance, you know. And the same thing, like if there's an issue with someone on my side of the family, then I'm going to address it. If there's an issue with someone on his side of the family, then he's going to address it. I'm not going to address his family, and he's not going to address mine, because they're quick to forgive me. You know, my family is quick to forgive me. His family is going to be quick to forgive him. But if we address someone else's family, it's like, wait a minute, it doesn't matter how long you've been married, those things just linger on and on and on. So we were kind of smart to not do that from the very beginning. So just keeping people out of your marriage it cuts down on the drama big time.
How did you learn? You mentioned you were quick right from the beginning of the marriage to know that, okay, you're the unit, you two are the new family unit, and you need to resolve your own challenges, not go to other families and so on. I feel like a lot of families or husband wives, for whatever reason, they either don't know that or they don't do it.
Yeah, you know, I think I was blessed when I worked at Inspiration Ministries, those 13 years, there was a minister there that really spoke into me and my husband's life, like big time. And because I got married when I was working at Inspiration Ministries, and he gave us a lot of information about marriage. And it really shaped our perspective on what it was and what the whole point of it was, and that this is between you two, and you're, now are one. And so that foundational information, I was blessed to get that before we even made that commitment. I knew I wanted to marry him. He hadn't asked me yet, but I knew he was gonna. I'm 7 years. Come on, you better ask me, But just that information, it really set the tone. And so it wasn't an official premarital counsel. It wasn't like an official thing, but it was premarital counseling. So I would suggest anybody who wants to get married that with someone who knows, it's not like, well, what color do you want in your wedding? Who cares? It's about how are you going to live and what is the foundation that you're going to work from. So I was blessed to get that information before we got married. So that's how I was able to know that starting off, and that was very helpful for us.
So having that guidance right from the beginning was very helpful.
Yeah. And then I had, we're also blessed that my parents, my mom was married until my father died, passed away in 2015. So you're talking about 40 years of marriage. And then John comes from the same, so we didn't come from broken homes, so we had good examples. So that's helpful too. We didn't have that challenge of figuring out, what is this supposed to look like? I know what it looks like. I grew up in it. So I've seen them, my family work through challenges and arguments and things like that. And he saw the same, where bailing is not an option. Like, that's not an option. It's not even on the table. You don't talk about it. You don't threaten it. So we saw that. And so some people don't have that. So it's an extra hurdle for them. But we were both raised in homes that, where there's long marriages. And so we got to see commitment, what that looks like.
But also it seems like having that like solid rock, or the solid, how would I put it? Like basically your faith, right? Both of you having the same faith. The core belief systems were the same. So even though the cultures are different or whatever that you're coming from, but at the same time, this belief is the same. So that becomes the culture.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that is. And that, that's who we are. That's who we are. That's who I am. That's who my husband is that we are both believers in Christ. I can't separate myself from it. It's not something I just do on Sunday. Oh, I go to church. This is who I am. My identity is in Christ, and the same is true for my husband. And so when you have two people in the same foundation, it's the same Holy Spirit. So you're one. You get the information and you get the info. You're getting the same information from the same Holy Spirit. So yes, that is that's our belief. That's our faith. It's who we are. Everything I do flows out of that, even my business and who I serve and how I serve. It's from that identity. So it's when you're a new creation, old things are passed away. It doesn't matter how you were brought up. It doesn't matter about old hurts, old pains. It doesn't matter about society. It doesn't matter. And none of that stuff matters. You have a new identity, and out of that identity flows everything. So it's a whole new culture. It's a whole new culture. And even the people that I connect with, it's amazing how it's just kind of networked in, even with, peers and coworkers and, other business people. There's that kind of underline. And it's like, oh yeah, you just kind of know. You just like, oh, we're got, same identity, same culture, even though we have vast, backgrounds and from different locations, it's like, when you meet someone that's a part of that same, faith, where it's like, oh yeah, that's, when you say brother and sister in Christ, it really is true. Yeah. It's true. It's like, yep, I can tell.
Yeah. So, kind of transitioning into other parts of your life, you've had jobs, you are married, you have your own business. How have you, or what have you figured out about wealth management and money management in your life that's been working for you?
Well, that has been a journey. I remember growing up, to own a house was a big old thing. Like, oh, you got to get a house. You got to get a job, start working, and you got to buy a house, And I wish I had waited, because when my husband and I got married, we were both living in an apartment together, and then we went out and bought a house. But we bought a house too soon. And we bought a house during that time where the market, the mortgage thing with the
around that time.
Around when?
2008.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's what. And we were in that. And so my house, mortgage was upside down. And so we owed more than what it was worth. So we couldn't even give the thing away if we wanted to, And actually, one of the things we ended up doing was filing bankruptcy to get out of the house. Wow. And the crazy thing is that we didn't have debt. I didn't owe a bunch of credit cards or anything like that. Didn't have debt, but we were house poor. We were house poor. We couldn't save. We couldn't do anything because all of our money was going into this house. And we had rolled in some student loans, and we rolled in all this stuff into this mortgage, which was like not smart. And then we couldn't get it refinanced or anything. I even had at that time, it was an 800 credit score, but I was house poor. And so with an 800 credit score, I couldn't get anyone to refinance a house because it wasn't worth it. We owed more than what it was worth. And so the only way to get out of it was bankruptcy. And when we filed that same year, found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh, this is great, But one of the things that my dad told me, he was like, because I was like, I'm not going to do that. My credit, I was so big on my credit, it's going to ruin my credit. And he's like, well, what good is credit when you don't have any cash in your pocket, And I was like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't tell anyone to just go ruin their credit or anything. But really, that was the only way to get out. So we had to build. It was like starting all over again. And for, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years, we rented a house and that kind of thing until around the 5th year is when we purchased our house that we're in now. and it was like starting all over. So now we both have amazing credits, credit scores, no debt, no credit card debt or anything like that. And our house, we ended up refinancing during the era where you could get like a 2.5% interest rate. I'm never moving ever. I'm never going to move. So, but it took a minute to learn just, economy, just to learn like what does it mean to refinance? What is a mortgage? All that. I didn't know any of that stuff. And so now, even as a business owner, there's a coaching group that I'm a part of, because I'm always trying to get better at what I do and learn the business. I know the skill. Like, I know design backwards, and I've been doing it for over 25 years. But there's a business side that's a learning curve. And one of the things that I realized is that my money blueprint is off. It's off. I didn't even realize that this was a thing, and but it's off. So what I used to think was a lot of money is not a lot of money. But my blueprint was like, that's a lot of money. And so if you think a certain price is a lot of money, then it's going to be hard to charge that, because you think it's a lot of money, but really it's not a lot of money. And you see people charging so much more, and it's nothing for them, even though you do the same amount of work or probably even better work than they do, but you won't charge it because your money blueprint is off. You think that's a lot of money, and it's not. So I'm still working on that. Like, okay, that's not a lot of money, So
just like a psychological view of money, you mean, like especially in business? Like
yes.
You mentioned charging for your services a certain amount and going above a certain number in your head, you feel like it's too much.
Yeah, it's that psychological way of thinking about things where you think, just say, and I'm just going to throw out a number, just say, okay, if you're someone that's making, I don't know, $1,000. Like, I could tell my kid, okay, it's $1,000 a lot of money. If I pay you $1,000 a month, my kid would be like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Well, when you're married with kids and that's not any money. You can't do anything with $1,000 a month. Yeah. So his money blueprint is off. Like, you can't function on $1,000 a month. So that's what I mean. Is like, it's off, where it's like you need more than that to function. And so even as running a business, you realize, okay, I need this for overhead. I need this for this quality of employees or contractors, like, because you get what you pay for. Yeah. And so you have to reevaluate that thing, and even just break down the math so that it's not an emotional, it's just facts. Right. Like, you can't run a successful business charging this amount and be able to make a profit, so just, that whole psychological thing, and then learning how to break it down mathematically so that it's not emotional. It's just a fact. So, yeah.
How do you deal with it in terms of your mindset, as far as a business, you have your top line, like you have a lot of money coming in, but you may have contractors, employees, whoever you have to pay, materials, other expenses. So at the end of the day, you're not getting all of it.
Right.
And you need to realize it's not just because you're getting X amount, that doesn't mean that's all yours.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so funny because, there's some people that I follow on Instagram, entrepreneurs, because some people give some really good tips, and then there's some people where I'm like, yeah, right. And some people will begin to boast about, the revenue that they brought in. Like, oh, I get 6 figures or blah, 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 or $1 million revenue, whatever it is. And I'm like, but how much of that is profit? Like, how? Right. Because you can bring in a certain dollar amount, but after you pay your overhead and expenses and all that other stuff, what do you take home? And that's one of the things that I learned in my coaching group. The mentor of that group, or our coach, which is Michael Janda, he runs a More Creative Academy. And so he gives a lot of great tips. But one of the things that he was telling us is that in your business, it's just a number until it goes into your actual personal account. So it's numbers. Don't think of it as, oh, I made this amount of money. No, it's just numbers until it goes into your personal account. So it's just thinking about it that way, that this, you might bring in this amount. I might sell a certain package or certain services, but that is not all yours until everything is complete. Like until the project is complete, all expenses are paid for out of that project. All the people are paid out of that project. And, you know, the business is paid out of that project, then it's like, okay, what's left? So, yeah.
Right. And even in that case, it's cash flow, right? In business, cash actually flows. You get a deposit, you do some work, you get another payment for it, you take some of that out to pay expenses and so on. But sometimes you have to stop it, right? Usually at the end of the year, whatever the fiscal year is, you stop that cash flow and you count what came in, what went out, and then you know, okay, I get to keep whatever the profit is of that. But as it flows, unless you're really on top of every single project like you should be, you may not know where you are exactly. Like the bank account may be like high one month and all of a sudden like negative another month if you're not on top of it.
That's so true. You have to know the numbers. You got to keep up with how much does this project really cost and all the expenses with it, because especially if someone pays you, for example, $30,000 up front. Okay, you get $30,000 up front. You don't, that's not yours yet. Right. You know? And then is this for like a whole 12 months? Is this for one, like how long is this? You need to hold on to that because that's not yours yet. And you got expenses to pull out of that. So yeah, you have to know those numbers, and especially when you have multiple projects coming in, you know, this project is gonna acquire this amount of money. This is going to take this amount. And so it's, you know, the way I operate is it's not until everything is said and done, then I'm like, okay, this is the cut right here. This is mine. You know, this goes to the business. This is going to me personally, that kind of thing, until the end, because it's tricky. And then there's a certain amount that you keep in the business because there's seasons where, I mean, 1 minute we're slammed and it's like holiday rush, that kind of thing, or the spring is just busy for us. But then there's times where it's crickets. It's like nothing's happening. What's going on, you know? So you have to be able to weather the storm with that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as your like health, working out, eating right, how do you handle that part? And especially being a mother, like not only for yourself, now you got to take care of the kids as well.
I'm not handling it well. That's the truth. I'm not. And that's, you know, you have your New Year's goal. I'm not handling it well. I would say that suffers the most, unfortunately, and it shouldn't, but it does. And that's one of the things that I am planning on changing, because it does. You get in this go mode, and there's little things that I've tried to do. Like, I dealt with frozen shoulder, for a couple of years, and then I had to go to physical therapy because I'm like this, you know, I'm stuck like this at my desk for hours at a time. And the only break is like to go get the kids, come back, and then get back to my desk, and not moving or taking enough breaks. And I started having shoulder issues, which actually sent me to the chiropractor, which I'm glad I went because now I go there, you know, on a regular basis. But one of the things I ended up doing was buying a stand-up desk so I could stand up more. I even have one of those under the desk treadmills so I can walk and work at the same time, because I know I have this limited time. But and then, you know, you have extracurricular activities and all this kind of stuff going on, but really you have to carve out that time, and I haven't been carving it out the way I need to, and prioritizing it the way I need to. So I made some small adjustments to get some kind of motion in and movement in, but definitely needs to be better in that area. That's probably my weakness right now.
What about as far as food?
Same. We're in that season of life where I have one kid finishing elementary. I have another kid that's starting middle school, or just, he's in the 6th grade. So we're operating between 2 schools.
Okay.
And then the extracurricular with both kids, one's playing the piano, the other one's doing basketball, and then Boy Scouts, and then youth group. And so you have all of these things going on. And so it's like, when are we going to cook? When do we cook? And so it's like, when you're in this season, that's not going to end tomorrow. So it's not like, oh, just get through the week. No, this is the season that we're in right now. It's not going to end anytime soon. But just being able to plan ahead and, prep meals and things like that. When we do that, we eat well. When we don't, it's fast food and just go get something because we got to be at practice in 30 minutes. We don't have time to come home and cook. Like, you really have to prepare and think about this ahead of time. So, yeah, we talk about this every day at home. Like, oh, I forgot to think about dinner. Well, it's too late now. Yeah.
So how do you balance all of that? How do you balance life, basically? Like, you're a business owner, you're a mother, you're a wife, you have so many different roles.
Yeah.
How do you balance them all?
Well, I think the main thing is just remembering why you're even alive, because one of those things can get overwhelming, and sometimes it does in different seasons. And but just remembering why are you even doing any of this stuff, and what's the purpose, what's the point behind it? That really keeps me in alignment. And I do have time every morning. The first thing I do when I wake up is I read my Bible, spend time with God, and really set my day and my mindset for the day. Like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because if I don't do it in the morning, I won't do it, because my day just snowballs after that. But just remembering that, and just why am I doing this? What's my purpose here? And to be a reflection of God in everything I do. This is what he looks like running a business. This is what he looks like, as the spouse. This is what he looks like as, raising children. This is what he looks like as a member in the community. This is what he looks like. This is what patience looks like. This is what excellence look like. You don't halfway do stuff. You're going to do it. This is what faithfulness looks like. So just, remembering why you do what you do. And also remembering that life is not one big chore. That's not, you got to enjoy the journey of all of it, even in business, even in marriage and raising kids. Like, don't miss the fun stuff. It's not one big chore, like there are roses. Smell them, So just, remembering that. And I think that time in the morning helps me to remember, like, this is not one big chore. If you think your life is one big chore, you're off. Something's off. You have challenges. Yeah. You have challenges and things that come along, but it's not one big chore. It's a journey, and you should be enjoying parts of that journey. Yeah.
What's your social circle like today? Like, being so busy, do you find that you need to, like, go out with friends and kind of recharge in that way, or not really? Or
I'm an introvert, so nope. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I have the referral group that goes to on Wednesdays, and that is actually a breath of fresh air, because I'm around other business owners, and it helps me get out of my head. So it's great to be around other business owners. The coaching group that I'm a part of, we meet online 2 times a week, and just hearing their issues and problems, and we can laugh about things. That's helpful. And then my church, I'm involved. So I try to go to all of their events, that we have there. And that gets me out of my head too. Like, there's other people, there's other things going on. It's helpful. But I'm not a socialite. My goal after a busy week is to do nothing. I just want to be by myself. I'm not one of those people, some people get energized around other people. And for me, there's some people that energize me and some people that drain me, where it's like, it's better if I just don't. So time by myself is very, very important for me to be able to do all the things that I do, and then spending time with the right people. And the right people are usually the people in my church and the other entrepreneurs, Mm-hmm. And then I have like a gold mine at home. Like, my husband really is my best friend. So if I could spend time with him one-on-one, just coffee for hours, I'm good. I'm good for the rest of the week. But if I don't get that time, I'm like, man, I feel like my weeks are running together and I didn't get a break. So it's just specific people that really do energize me and give me ideas and take my mind off of things. My husband is somewhat of an introvert too, so our house is quiet. Okay. But and now my kids are introverts. But even though he is, somewhat of an introvert, he's also hilarious too. But I'm the only one that gets to see it. Yeah. So he breaks up the monotony in the house, and he's just a lot of fun to be around. So he's the athletic, I want to go play outside. Let's go walk. Let's go do this. And I'm like, okay. So he helps me, he balances me out. I'm the serious one for the most part.
Yeah. So. When it comes to learning, I mean, you went to college, you had formal education there, but in life, it's like, if we don't continue to learn, we fall behind, right?
Oh, yeah.
What do you do, or how do you go about continuous learning?
I'm always looking, especially in my industry, like it's not an option. Mm-hmm. If you want to be relevant, it's not an option. You have to keep learning. And so, I mean, I'm looking at new platforms that are out there, social media platforms. What is it? Why are they using it? Who's on it? I'm looking at AI. A lot of people are running from AI. You can't run from it. You better learn it. Yeah. Learn it, use it, and become efficient at what you do. So I'm always learning things. I'm either scrolling through. When I look at social media, it's not, I don't like politics. I don't like drama. I'm usually looking at what's new. What's new? What's the new technology? What's the new thing that's out there? So I can keep up. And then I start investigating that. So it'll take me, I'll start Googling things and like, oh, this is new. They got this new thing going. How can I use it? Who's mm-hmm. using it? Is it even legit? That kind of thing. And then I'm always trying to find ways to get better at what I do in terms of business, which is why I joined, the coaching group that I'm in, is just to learn how to be better at what I do, faster, more efficient. And if someone else made the mistakes, I don't want to make the same mistakes. Like, I want to learn off of your mistakes. So I'm, trying to, read books and things like that. I'm not an avid reader because of time. Yeah. But I do like to, there's certain books that have been a game changer for me, like the E-Myth, like, whoa, blew mm-hmm. my mind. So I'm always trying to get better because of time. I think because I am trying to juggle so much, with business and family and community and things like that, is I'm always trying to find ways to get better with my time and more efficient with time. And so you have to keep learning because, with new technology and new things out there, there's faster and better ways to do things. And, I don't want to waste time. So, yeah.
As far as like the highlights of your life, what is one thing, one event, one thing that happened to you that was like the top of your life?
Oh, man. Besides having kids.
Right, I guess besides getting married.
Right. I would say I remember when I used to work at Inspiration Ministries. I worked in several departments because it was 13 years. So, but the latter part, I worked in the communications department, and I used to program the digital signage on campus. And so not only did I design for that platform, like all the graphics and stuff like that, and program it, I also did the back end technology. Just, why is the screen in black and what's it connect? So I was in the server rooms and things like that, trying to figure out stuff. And so, but one of the things that I was able to do was go to Las Vegas to the Digital Signage Expo. And I was a keynote speaker there.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was a lot of fun because, my company paid for it. And I got to go with a lady that was my boss at the time. And I was a keynote speaker on just, I talked about the technology that goes into digital signage. And so I would have never thought I'd be there talking about that. And all of that information was, when I worked at INSP, I used to work in the IT department for 2.5 years. So just all of that information that I learned from that department and, and then coupling it with the degree in communication arts and graphic design and all of that kind of took me there. And so I would have never thought I'd be a keynote speaker at the Digital Signage Expo. It was a big deal. I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Yeah. So, and then there's been a couple of other speaking engagements that I did. I did one, I did two actually, at in Sumter, South Carolina for bishops, pastors, and leaders. And so I was a speaker there, and I'm like, well, how did I get here? Like, everyone has this title, bishop this, pastor this, and I'm like, I'm Dionya Kelley. So it's just been some moments in time where I'm like, I don't know how I got here, but I'm in this leadership position where people are looking towards me for information that, when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that. That's kind of awesome. So, yeah.
Usually for introverts, it's, at least from my experience, it's hard to speak in public, right? Public speaking is a tough thing. How did you come about to it? Was that Vegas event the first time you spoke kind of in public?
No, it's interesting because I think I'm naturally to some degree a performer. And I think it comes from just my background as a violinist and being on the dance team. And I know how to perform. But it's not the same as the one-on-one small talk where I'm like, I don't know how to do small talk. Yeah. But if you give me a subject and I can prepare for it, then I can present. I know how to present pretty well. But the one-on-one small talk, that's I don't know how to do that.
So your background in from sports, from the color guard and so on, being on so-called stage or in front of people, that helped you along the way.
Oh yeah, that helped a lot. You learn that I'm here to do a job. It's like a job. I'm here to do a job. As long as I can prepare for it, then I'm good. It's just when I'm not prepared, I'm like, I don't know what to say. So that's been helpful, when I'm speaking or presenting. It's like a performance for me.
Okay. What is one challenge you had in life, and how did you overcome it? Big challenge.
I would say my biggest challenge is running the business. and it's the most rewarding at the same time. Because it gets me out of my comfort zone, way out. You can't do it being comfortable. That's the most challenging thing is run, and there's always new challenges. So I would say starting it, that leap of faith was terrifying because you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And when you make the decision, you go all out or suffer the consequences. So it's the leap of faith that you don't take just one time. It's over and over and over again. And it's running a business for me it sounds like, oh, it's just running a business, but no, it's loaded. I mean, it's got psychological challenges. It's got so many different hurdles and aspects to it that deal with you internally, believing that you can do this, believing that you can help someone, that, you are now in the position of authority. And that, I wasn't used to that, especially working, in the company that I work for. I'm always in this position where I have a boss and you tell me what to do and I do it. But now you're asking me, like, what should I do? And I'm like, oh, now I'm the one that's providing direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say starting the business was the biggest challenge, just mentally, because I had to turn that corner to be like, look, you are the CEO now, and you're meeting with CEOs now. Where when you've worked in corporate America all this time, it's like there's this environment that, it's not a bad thing. It just is, where you have the bosses and you have the worker bees. And I was the worker bee, where it's like, just tell me what to do, whatever. And you get invited to certain meetings, but you're not in charge. You're just there to take direction. And no one really cares about your opinion, even though you may have answers.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not paying you for your answers. They are paying you to do this job. And so when you start a business, now you're the one that's providing directions, and people are looking to you. Other business owners, other CEOs, other managers are now looking towards you for information. You got to get that in your head that you're the boss, and you're the one with the information. And I think that was the hardest thing psychologically for me, because I would be like, okay, what do you want me to do? And they're like, I don't know. I want you to tell me what I should do. And so that was a change.
Yeah. So being the expert,
yes,
you have an additional accountability now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the services you offer today for your business. Like what do you do? What services you offer?
Well, we offer brand strategy, and what that is everything is built off of that strategy. I didn't always start with this approach. Mm-hmm. I used to just to say, okay, we'll just do graphic design. And graphic design is broad, very broad. And so, you could do digital or print. You could be designing social media graphics, or you could be designing print graphics like flyers, brochures, business cards. We do all of those things. And even website design, we do that as well. But one of the things that I honestly recently started to highlight is the brand strategy, because it's the why behind what you do. Mm-hmm. So you have so many designers out there, and you have AI that's designing and stuff. Doesn't mean that's necessarily great design, but it's doing some things, Yeah. But that strategy, the why are you doing what you're doing, and who are you doing it for, and who's your audience, and why you above any other company or organization, that value proposition. What is your messaging? What is that brand voice? What does your company or organization sound like? So that providing that brand strategy and helping organizations and businesses figure that out, and out of that, you build everything off of that. You build your website off of that, because now right. You know how to target it, So that's one of the things that we are really highlighting more than anything moving forward, is the strategy, and then the execution of the strategy with email marketing, social media marketing, graphic design, and pretty much anything with a graphic. We're not that big in the video, but I'm looking forward to bringing that on in the near future. So, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. What is your ideal customer or client?
My ideal client would be a church, nonprofit, or a small business that does not have that communications department. So here's the thing. So there's, like I talked about AI, there's all kind of technology and software out there that allows people to create the content that they want to create. Well, our clients know they don't have time to do that. They don't have time to create their own websites. They don't have time to create and run their own social media. So we fill in that creative services gap. So our ideal clients are looking for someone to do that, someone to outsource that to, who knows their brand and can work with their team. So those are our ideal clients, or people who know that I don't have time for this. I need to be working on my business and not working with these things. So that those are our ideal clients.
Okay. Yeah. What else would you want to share about your business?
Our business, we are remote offices. Okay. So we don't have the brick and mortar, which keeps our overhead down. And we can serve anybody in the United States, and we do have clients all over. Our team consists of people in Indiana, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Florida, and North Carolina. So I have a team of 5, and so including me, it's 6. So we have 3 designers. We have a UI UX website person. We have my administrative assistant who also does social media. She's kind of my everything person. And then you have me, who's the creative director, who, provides direction for all those services and can operate in all of those areas at any time. So at any time, I could just take on the whole project if I needed to, which I'm trying not to do. But we are remote offices, so we do a lot of Zoom meetings, which cuts down on time. Especially when we're meeting with business owners and things like that. We can hop on a Zoom meeting. They can talk to us for 30 minutes to an hour, and then they're on their way. So it's very effective, very efficient. And our clients have been with us for years. So because when you get really close to a brand, you know that brand, you know their voice, you know the team that you're working with, you know that organization, and we just kind of become family, so they don't really leave.
That's good. It's definitely good to have repetitive customers.
Clients.
Where can people find you?
You can visit us on our website, DionyaDesigns.com. You can visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Another goal for this year is to put out content. Right now on our social media platforms, we've just kind of been putting out statistics because I want people to know the stats. It's not my opinion. It is what it is. This is a fact. Why you need to have a website, why you need to, that kind of stuff. But this year, I plan on putting out content that is more specific, particularly to churches and nonprofits, about budgets and about design and things like that. Because I know there are some people that are trying to do it on their own, and I want to help. Like, okay, you need to have a hierarchy, you need to have balance, that kind of thing. So that's the goal for this year, is to put out more content. So if you're following us on social media, you'll be seeing that content coming in 2024.
Sounds good. One more question before you go. So, what do you think the world needs today most?
Oh man. It sounds so cliche, but love. I do. I think, it's like I said earlier, my whole foundation is built on Jesus Christ, and I can't depart from it. And so if I could snap a finger, I'd tell the whole world about him and who he is and what it means to be a part of his kingdom, and it would change everything, because it's not about you, it's about him. And so out of that, it shapes my whole perspective. And so what does the world need more of? Him. I don't know another way to answer it. It's really anything else. If I say anything else, it would be inauthentic. I would say him. They need more of Christ. And yeah.
Well, Dionya, thank you for joining me, and I'm looking forward to talking with you some more about more specific topics in the future.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.